Well, hello, everybody. As I'm sure everyone knows, you've heard the big news. Adam Schefter tweeting it out. Reese just ordered a deep dish pizza from Rosati's.
Yes, sir.
Big news for the day. No,
Yep.
yeah, that'll be the funny part of the podcast. The rest is going to be us depressed. No, I'm just playing. Khalil Mack was officially traded to the Los Angeles Chargers. A move that I think we speculated on a little bit. And before we actually get into the move, I want to let it kind of be known, like our opinion that, on the Khalil Mack situation before any of this unfolded. I think we were in kind of a similar mindset, Reese, where it was like, yeah, trading him would definitely help restart a rebuild, but we shouldn't be in a rush to trade Khalil Mack. I think it is what our general opinion was. And today that came true. Khalil Mack was traded, and the Bears get back a second-round pick this year. It was speculated at first to be a 2023. It is a 2022. So a second-round pick this year, which is,
49. It's high 40s. I know that's what that pick is. Yep.
So not a terrible one. I mean, the Chargers were a one-and-done team this past year. So it's
didn't even make it.
Oh, you're right. Gosh, I keep forgetting that. That Chargers team I thought was always a lot better than that. So they didn't even make the playoffs, which is kind of crazy. Then they, we get a 6th-round pick in 2023. Maybe we'll get some additional trade compensation packed on there. Who knows at this point? But it seems to be pretty set in stone. The Bears alleviate about $7 million in cap space this year and nearly $30 million in 2023, bringing our 2023 cap space number to $121 million in cap space. Reese, what were your first reactions when you saw this news break?
Yeah, my first reaction is I don't really mind it. Yeah, I didn't think the Bears needed to be in a rush to move Khalil Mack, but I think it was a bit of a calculated move. There's a chance that Khalil Mack plays on the Bears next year, stays healthy, and has his second best year with the Bears. That's definitely possible. But at the same time, there was a little bit, I think, of uncertainty with the injury status that he picked up late in the year for not really playing out the rest of the season. They decided to go ahead and pull the trigger. I think that the compensation is never going to be what you want, especially for Khalil Mack. The 2nd and the 6th is nothing crazy. That 6th-round pick, it could turn into something good, but it's basically very low in value. You basically traded Khalil Mack mostly for that 2nd-round pick, and I think overall, it sets a pretty clear vision for this Bears team. I think that, obviously they're breaking things down a little bit. And I think that at least the point that it raises in my mind is we might be shifting more of that money towards the offensive side of the ball. Now that we do have Eberflus, who was more of a defensive-minded head coach, and they needed to break things down on the defense a little bit, change things around. And the one question that brings up is, you get rid of a Khalil Mack, you figure that, Robert Quinn doesn't really have a place on this roster anymore either. At least
the question.
If the vision lines up, which I think it probably will, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I don't even necessarily know if this for sure insinuates that Robert Quinn will be leaving as well. I think it would be potentially a good move, but I think a part of this whole Khalil Mack trade was just the health concerns. I mean, the past 3 years, he's been a shade of himself. He dealt with injuries a lot. And when he was healthy this year, he was pretty productive. I mean, he averaged about a sack a game. But the real question is like, he's getting older. What's the likelihood that he's going to get better with his injuries? His injuries are going to improve. And it's kind of unfortunate that, Khalil Mack was mostly healthy throughout his time with the Raiders and then comes to the Bears and that happens. And I think what's really difficult to swallow about this move is it really is kind of the ending of an era. Khalil Mack really was that player that defined the Bears over the past 3 seasons that he was with us. And it's difficult to move on past that. And I think that this is when we get into Ryan Poles and kind of his strategy here. But I think Ryan Poles took an unbiased look at this and not a fan's view on it and said, listen, this is a 31-year-old pass rusher. It looks like because of injury issues, a lot of his prime years might be in the past. Sure, you might get a couple extra good years out of him, but really, is that going to be what the Bears need right now? And I think the question, without even getting into the draft compensation, is no.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you mean, and I think with Ryan Poles, I figure that him and the rest of the front office, the team that he's built around him, at least if I were him, I would, as soon as I got control of this team, I would just go down that roster and be like, this is what our vision is, and then put a check mark next to everyone that that kind of fits the vision, and then kind of look at everyone else, and at that point then go over the cap numbers. And I think that's ultimately what we're seeing a little bit. We saw some of the smaller moves earlier on, like the re-signing of like Mustafa and Horsted, and I think that was kind of a little bit of just like, hey, who do we know we can already get some use out of on this team, and hopefully Mustafa is a depth piece. But I think that for Khalil Mack, yeah, like you said, he did not have the fans kind of biased to it. Obviously, when you have an elite player like that on the team, he draws your favoritism to him. You want him to be the best, and you usually try to promote him to be that best. And ultimately, I think that it's a Bears era with Khalil Mack that was full of talent, full of a lot of bright spots, but just unfortunate in its ending that could never really quite mount up to some large success. But I think you have to know when to pull the plug, and I think that's kind of what Ryan Poles just did.
Yeah. I agree. I do wonder if this will issue in other moves, though. Like, I don't think that Ryan Poles views this as a full rebuild, which I think a lot of people are insinuating. I don't necessarily believe trading Khalil Mack by any means insinuates that this is a full rebuild. And it's not like I think we're going to be going, line by line and cutting whoever we can, obviously. Yeah. Otherwise, a lot of that would have happened already. I mean, free agency is about to happen. I more so see him say, hey, we can get some more draft picks here, get talent, we can 2022 second round pick. There's a decent amount of good edge rushers in this class. Maybe pick up a guy there. But more so like also giving yourself more flexibility in the draft. And, this next era is going to be defined by, Justin Fields, Roquan Smith, and then this new regime. Khalil Mack is not part of those plans.
And a couple of big things that you just said there. I think that, one, it gives the Bears a lot of positioning in this current draft, right? They have 2 second-round picks. If they really feel compelled, you figure they can package those 2 second rounds to get, a late first, possibly for sure, if the deal is right. So if they really, really want someone, they give themselves a chance to go out and pull a trigger. But also, too, they could sit back. They could keep both those picks, get 2 quality players. We know this is a deep draft. So it gives them a little bit of positioning in that, right? And then also, too, in coming years, we talked about, clearing up the cap in 2023. You figure someone named Roquan Smith is probably going to want a contract.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be demanding a decent amount of money. He saw Darius Leonard go ahead and pick up, that $99 million deal this past, last year's offseason. So, they're going to have to clear up some room, and I think a lot of Bears fans want him to at least stick around. So, yeah, I think that it kind of knocks out like two punches there, and we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I think, Austin, we really hit on our last couple of podcasts. This offseason is kind of monumental for setting the tone, and maybe it's not a full rebuild, but there's certainly a decent amount of retooling, restructuring that needs to happen. And this offseason is laying the foundation for that.
And I think this move also kind of gives us a jump start into Ryan Poles as a GM. I think he is going to, clearly he's going to be an aggressive GM. If you're not aggressive GM, you don't get to a team and trade their best player immediately. Yep. We'll have to see. That's the key to all this is like, I've always harped on this is like, yeah, draft capital is good, but draft capital is only good if you get good players with that draft capital. So that's where, he's putting more pressure on himself. He has to go out there, get a good guy, and he needs to pick up some quality free agents. And this move, and we talked about this a little bit before coming on the pod, there's $121 million in cap space next year, right? Sure, Roquan Smith is up, but there's not a whole bunch of other guys that are coming up needing contracts. I'm trying... Yeah,
David Montgomery, right?
If we keep him,
but he's a running back. So that doesn't really demand huge money.
So even
if you do keep him,
yeah, and then that means that really, I would say the question is like, okay, we're gonna clearly be using a lot of this cap space in free agency. how much are we going to be using it in this free agency? Because it wouldn't surprise me if the Bears use some of this future cap money in this free agency in the way that they kind of backload deals. Because sure, our cap number isn't massive. We can make it a little bit bigger. I think we rank now we probably rank like 10th or 9th in cap space. But we could really, if we want to go sign a Teron Armstead, we can easily do that now. Like we can go out there and make that big splash move. We can go out there and get Amari Cooper too. There's plenty of room to do that, and it's still filling the rest of the hole. So I'm interested to see this move in reference to the entire offseason, seeing how everything plays out.
I think we, as Bears fans, at least for me, I mean, I'm like, and maybe this is a reaction because I know you brought up the word depressed at the beginning. Dude, I'm damn near excited.
Yeah.
This has got my blood pumping for this offseason. I'm like, all right, what's gonna come, and maybe they'll land a big name free agent, maybe they won't, but at least has me more pumped up for the draft. Now there's more to talk about, at least for me strategically. This kind of just blows the door wide open, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't blow the door wide open in 2022 cap space. I don't want anyone to get that impression. It really only frees up about like 6 or 7 million.
Yeah, they could have done other things. It has nothing to do with this year.
Yeah, but it's nuts, man. I mean, this is a huge move, and he like you said, he decided to make a bold move. Right out of the gate. You come to a team, you trade their best player, and it's not like it's a quarterback in their prime, so it's kind of tough. But the blood's kind of in the water for this 2022 offseason in general in the NFL. We've seen some just massive moves in the with the Russell Wilson, the Aaron Rodgers deal. So many things. Even if you want to throw Carson Wentz in there, fine, go ahead. But I think that even too for the NFL offseason, I think it just kind of free agency's coming around, but I think we could still see very many moves, from other teams. Does a Kirk Cousins get traded? It's not necessarily a massive move, but this offseason's fun already. I think so.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of interesting. I'm more so interested in theorizing at this point, because I'm not going to lie, I am a little bit upset just because I like Khalil Mack and I liked watching him play, and he is one of my favorite players of all time. So that, yes, it's sad, but it's one of those moves where I feel like you understand it, you understand the reasoning behind it, and you kind of move on. Now the question is what are they going to do with this pick? Because realistically, do you think they trade up? I'm leaning on. I don't
think so.
Yeah, I'm leaning on.
I don't really want them to.
Yeah.
I don't really want them to personally.
This draft is pretty thick in the second round. It has some good second round players, especially at the top of the second round. It wouldn't even surprise me if we use one of these picks in the second round, maybe the Chargers pick, and trade down to another second round pick and get more draft capital on the back end there. Kind of just expanding that beyond getting more players on the roster. And, we said the goal of this offseason is to get younger, more athletic, faster.
Yeah.
And get this roster back to a big place where in the future, we can once again, be in the Chargers position where we could trade for a, Khalil Mack-esque player moving forward.
Yeah. And I even think too, if we really do want to theorize and just speculate fully, I think that if there's any way that they do trade up into the first, I don't think it would be to get a skill position player.
Yeah.
I think then we're looking at some of the guards, tackles, or even a Tyler Linderbaum if he's hanging around and they feel like he's vulnerable at a time, and they might go up and pull the trigger. I really don't think that they're going to go up, and I could be proven wrong. I mean, I definitely could be, but I don't think that's what some people speculate. It's Chris Olave is going to go in the first, and the Bears are going to trade up for him.
I don't know. I don't even know if he's going to go in the first either. He could easily slip out. It's a thick wide receiver class as well.
It's all about, I think the draft sometimes surprises us with kind of the order. I think there's kind of an impression that we get from the draft analysts as to what the order is as far as position rankings go, but the way other teams view it is not always the same.
It's always DK Metcalf who fell out of the first round, notably after being projected to go top 10, mid second round pick, late second round pick. Kind of insane.
But yeah, I mean, who knows? And, it's interesting. I think it was a day that maybe more people would have well, I don't know, a contingent of Bears fans where they may have been more expecting a trade for DK Metcalf than a trading away Khalil Mack. I know I saw quite a few rumors about that, but
for sure. And if you want to package one of these picks, go do that, man. I'd be all for it. But I don't know, man. Any other thoughts on this move? I do think it's interesting. I do find it to be an interesting move for the Chargers, even because I can't tell you that I know too much about the Chargers cap space, but taking on that $30 million hit, I feel like in for the next 2 years, especially when's Herbert's rookie deal up? They're gonna have to shell out a new contract for him soon.
That's exactly why they made it, though. They're just trying to win. They're trying to win. I think they feel like Herbert's been so good year one, year two. They're not expecting too much to change there. They're going for it. They're gearing up. I think they see the division's getting stronger, but they feel like it's still one of their best chances. So I think they're just full send on this one.
Kind of funny that a day after Russell Wilson gets traded to their division, they're like, damn, we need to get another pass rusher. Right. Funny. But yeah. Any other thoughts?
No, not overall. Crazy day. Bear down as always, and I'm really curious to see what other Bears fans think about this.
We'll have to see if there's any other moves coming up later in the day or over the weekend before free agency starts. But other than that, guys, thank you so much, and bear down.
Bear down.